Hey friends, welcome to the Happy Homestead. I'm Amanda, and today we're going to do our second video in our year-long journey on making our own bread and bread products. Back in January was our first video where we did our homemade sandwich bread, learning how to make your own sandwich bread and avoid having to buy that anymore from the store. That's the whole purpose. Every month we dive into a new bread and really just develop your own repertoire toolkit, if you will, on how to make your own bread and bread products. And so slowly over time, you are not depending on the grocery store for those types of items. Now, I cannot take credit for this. This is from Little Farm Folk. I saw this either at the end of December of 2022 or in the beginning of January of this year and said, yeah, I'll participate because some of these things I want to learn how to make too. So I'll throw a visual up on the screen here, but like I said, January it was sandwich bread, and we're going to go to February and it's focaccia. So I think I've made focaccia once or twice before, but nothing I've done regularly. I'm going to do a new recipe today from Farmhouse on Boone. I love her recipes. I think they're really good. So we're going to do that today. I'm also using all-purpose flour. That's the other reason I chose this recipe, because I really want to make this accessible to everybody. I have a mock mill. I grind a lot of my own grains. It's just like a home personal grain grinder. I don't expect anyone else to have that, right? It's not normal, the typical, right? So I wanted to find a recipe that did all-purpose flour so that anyone can approach this no matter where they are within their journey. The hashtag that people are using is MakeBread365. So it's all about just expanding your bread making knowledge for 2023. So let's get started on our focaccia. Now it is dark. Really dark because it is 9 o'clock at night and it is a weeknight, friends. And gotta keep my eye over here, make sure my kids don't get out of bed because they're in bed. So I am making the recipe tonight, because what you want to do is really get your dough together and then you let it sit and you let it ferment all night long. I think the recipe said 12 to 24 hours. So I am gonna bake this tomorrow afternoon at some point. The goal was that it would be for our dinner tomorrow night. So I already fed, I'm using sourdough recipe. I should have stated that. This is a sourdough focaccia that I'm doing. So I already fed my starter this morning, probably around 12 hours ago at this point. So it's active, it's ready to go, and that's where we're gonna mix our dough up. There is one more thing I need to note. My KitchenAid mixer is broken. So I shipped it off, and you may have heard of Mr. Mixer. Found him online as well, and I shipped my mixer to him. So I have no stake in the game here by mentioning his name. I'm paying him exactly what he's going to charge me, but I'll definitely let you guys know once I get my mixer back how it all works out, because I'm really excited to get it back, hopefully in a couple of weeks. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm making this dough by hand. I am not mixing it with a KitchenAid mixer or any other type of bread mixer. You certainly can. In fact, I think she writes the recipe in a way that you do, but I'm going to do it by hand and show you. Once again, you don't have to have any fancy tools. So the recipe for the dough tonight is going to be 1.5 cups water, 4 cups all-purpose flour. It is a 1/2 cup of a really good extra virgin olive oil, a tablespoon of honey, local honey, 1 cup of our sourdough starter, and then I've got some sea salt. I don't know if I'm adding that tonight or not. So I'm going to just kind of start getting all of the ingredients together. You want to start with getting the water, the tablespoon of honey, a 1/4 cup of the oil, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Yep, 2 teaspoons sea salt. And then a cup of your starter. So we're gonna mix all that together first, and then we'll start adding in our flour, 1/2 cup at a time to get to 4 cups total. So I'm putting in a cup, again, eyeballing it, of my starter. So the recipe says to add a half cup at a time, and really don't add that next cup until, or the next half cup, until it starts to pull away from the bowl. And again, I think when Lisa's writing that, she's referring to the KitchenAid mixer. So I just started with 1 cup first, and I'm gonna really get this all incorporated before I add the other 3 cups. That's 2 cups total. All right, I'm gonna start getting my hands in here, and then we'll get that last cup in. Really sticky. Okay, I need to add a half cup more, and then we're at our full 4 cups. It's very sticky. Okay, I think I've got my dough pretty much together. It's not sticking to the side. I got all 4 cups incorporated. And so now the recipe says to knead it with the dough hook for about 10 minutes until you get, it passes the window pane test. And what that means is you take a piece and you kind of stretch it in between your fingers, and it shouldn't break apart like that. It should almost kind of stretch so much that you can see light through it. That's what the window pane test is called. Because I'm doing this by hand and I don't have my mixer, it's probably going to take me a good 15, maybe even longer, to really knead this through. And I'm just going to do that the old-fashioned way in my bowl here, just like this, for as much as I have to. Again, 15-20 minutes. So I'll come back and show you once I pass that window pane test. Okay, I have been kneading the dough for about 20 minutes. I did have to add flour periodically, and then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I actually drizzled it with a little bit of olive oil, and now it is this beautifully smooth dough ball. I also put some olive oil in my bowl. I'm going to swirl that around because I'm going to show you the window pane test here in a sec. And then we're going to put the dough ball in the bowl, cover it, and leave it sit on the counter, again, anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, and let the bulk ferment happen. So you just take some of the dough and start stretching between your fingers, and then you hold it up to the light. And if you can start to see light come through, that's the window pane test, right? It's passed. And it's being able to be stretched like that without breaking like that, right? If you pull it hard enough, it'll break. So after 20 minutes of hand kneading, I think we're done. And we're gonna just put this in our bowl, make sure that all of the sides are sufficiently oiled. In she goes. And we'll come back tomorrow for the next steps. And we're back. It's the next day. It's bright, it's beautiful, and our dough ball has been bulk fermenting for almost 16 hours. And I think if I let it go any longer, it's gonna come out of the bowl. It's beautiful, it's big, and it is ready to go in the pan. So the directions say to take a sheet pan, put some olive oil on it, as well as parchment paper. Now, my sheet pan's a little bit smaller, so my parchment paper kind of covers all of it. So I'm not going to put any oil in my pan, but I would say for this step you have a couple of options. You can do what I'm doing and just do parchment paper. If your parchment paper is only covering the bottom of your pan and your sides are exposed, then I absolutely would put some olive oil on those sides, get them beautifully greased up because you just don't want your focaccia to stick. You could skip the parchment paper altogether and grease the entire pan. You could also use like a glass dish, a glass casserole dish. Again, still need to use some olive oil and kind of grease and lube up that bottom and sides of whatever dish you plan to use. So we're now going to take our dough ball here, get it onto our pan. Shouldn't stick to the bowl. Thankfully it hasn't. There's a little olive oil on it. So I am just gonna spread this out. You wanna be gentle. You don't really wanna hurt. I say hurt, you're not actually hurting, but you don't wanna damage all the beautiful sourdough bubbles that may have been created. You do wanna be gentle, but you wanna spread it out over the entire pan. Using your fingertips to help do that, I think, is the best way. Plus, it just creates those beautiful dimples that you see in focaccia. I think that looks pretty good. Looks beautiful right now. My sourdough has been sitting for about 3 hours for this second ferment, this second rise. And I'll tell you, I don't really notice a huge difference in the rise. So it kind of looks the same to me, but it looks beautiful still. So I just went to the front yard and got some fresh rosemary. I've got 1 clove of garlic, and I'm just gonna chop everything. For the garlic, I'm gonna try to get it as thin as I can, but what I'm gonna do is slice it rather than mince it. I love garlic, and my family's pretty good about it. I think it's just pretty with the slices. I might just do something like that, but I don't really want to mince it too much. So that looks good to me. And now I'm just gonna chop my rosemary. I've got the oven preheating at 400 degrees. Okay, I'm gonna drizzle this with olive oil. You don't need too much, but it does contribute to the beautiful flavor as well as the semi-crispy top. I'm going to sprinkle my rosemary. The last thing I'm gonna do is take my Redmond real salt, and I'm just gonna do a light sprinkling. The recipe says 400 degrees, 20 minutes. That's what I'll do, and I'll show you when it comes out. It is time to cut into this glorious focaccia. First thing I tasted was the salt. Perfect. It has the sour tang of a sourdough. It doesn't have, you know, huge holes, but focaccia's not supposed to. It is soft. Of course, I picked a piece without rosemary or garlic. It's really good. I was just thinking while I was chewing, what will I use this for? So we're gonna eat some of it with our dinner tonight, just as like a side with some butter. But I also think it would make a really good sandwich bread. It's thick enough that I could slice and have 2 thin slices right at the bottom and the top and make a sandwich. The other thing I think I'm gonna do is same thing, cut it in half, kind of open face it, and make pizzas, focaccia pizzas, with just some pizza sauce marinara and some delicious cheese. So yeah, this is gonna go to good use. First time making focaccia in this way, and I'm pleased with it. So February focaccia's in the books. I hope you'll try the recipe. I'll link it down below. Again, it's not mine, it's from Lisa Farmhouse on Boone. And let me know what you think. So until then, I will see you for the next month with March, where we'll learn to make a different bread product. Thanks so much. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.